I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to our newest broadcast. So today, we're going to discuss more about Mana World Holding Trust. Now, I spoke with Tank a little earlier, and we were kind of talking about the Kingdom of Mana because there was some, there's obviously confusion about it, and because it was set up to be a kingdom of mana, the representation of the trust to deal with other political, or I say nations of the world, and to be like the ambassador of the trust, and actually deal as a model of how to set that up. And so there's obviously, it's still out there going as though it is has the power, and they're representing themselves as control over the trust. Now, as far as we know, that was removed by the one who gave. So now so there's some confusion about it. So when Tank gets on, we'll have some more conversation about that. From how can we make sense of this, and what is the truth? So I started digging a little bit myself, and I found a video that was one of Thomas's videos, where they were talking about the Mana World Holding Trust. I mean, the Kingdom of Mana being set up, and it was explained, and there was a lot of really good background information in there, and I can probably put that link down below to kind of have that be a part of what people can listen to get an idea of the other complexities. Again, and just you have to keep in mind that the power from them was removed, and some other background information of that. We'll wait for Tank, and he can express some of those things. But I know I'm dealing with people here in the Philippines that say that they're working with the Mana World Holding Trust, and then it turns out they're dealing with the Kingdom of Mana. And so I suggested that we go ahead and use there's an online tool that I use often to represent things graphically. It's a drawing program. It's a iDraw.io. And we could literally use that as a whiteboard to put up information and kind of draw some lines. When they have like a complicated case in one of these CIS police shows, and they're trying to make sense of all the information, they put it up on a big board, right? And then they take yarn and they draw these lines, and they zero in on someone, right? How does it all connect? So we can do the same thing with information on like where these things come together, and we can keep adding and adding to it, and work back and forth. So he thought it was a good idea. So we're gonna work towards setting that up. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So. Well, let's wait for Tank to get on. Let me go back over a couple of other things, news items, maybe I'm gonna call them. The GCR is about to happen. At least that's the word that I've gotten. That it's if it's not going to happen tomorrow, from one source, it's going to be pushed off a little bit, right? And then there's it's the same stories. In fact, I could have written out the script, for this month, and said, this is the script for this month. This is what the same thing was said last year and the year before that. I'm very good at recognizing patterns. So that's one of the reasons. It's like you're on the hamster wheel. You start noticing the bars going by, and a lot of people just get hypnotized, and then they don't notice the bars anymore as they're rolling by. Just keep crawling on that hamster wheel, and you're not going anywhere fast. Right? You can speed up as much as you want, you can slow down, but you're still in the same place. And that's really, I think, the point. it is time really to for those people that are on that hamster wheel to recognize it. Now, the latest was the Zimbabwe currency has been now reevaluated, right? I mean, or revalued. It's done. It's a done deal. And yes, there are articles out there that say the Zimbabwe dollar has been revalued. But if you read the article, it really just talks about a new Zimbabwe money that they've put up. They didn't say they're taking a $100 trillion note and giving you one for one. Didn't say that. It did say that they're going to link it to an electronic version of a US dollar, one for one. They didn't talk anything about the $100 trillion notes. It didn't say line up and go and exchange your currencies. And by the way, this is not the first time since the 2008 currencies that everybody get the $100 trillion notes. It's not the first time that the people have, that the Zimbabwe has come up with a new money. In fact, it was only a year ago. Repeated pattern. Now, there's also reports, I heard from Thomas Williams saying that there's people in Zimbabwe, they're rioting and fighting over the revaluation. That's never going to occur because they've been promised it's going to revalue. So those people are done waiting, right? And so maybe this is a way of placating the people there and saying, okay, now we have a new Zimbabwe money. Just to kick the can down another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So it's going to happen next week. So anyway, that's one of the other things that I wanted to basically cover was that what's going on in this currency revaluation. It's not happening. So if you're waiting, please stop waiting. If you really want to move forward, come and work with us on setting up your projects, and even on working with me directly. You can partner with me. I'll be glad to get a set of partners that really don't want to wait and want to do something today, and join the Kringle Society and start a cash flow type of situation where you could actually help bolster our members. And it is basically to join, it's basically a $10 lifetime wallet fee. But you get coin by doing promotions, and you can do things with no money and earn, but you have to do work. Or you can buy $100 worth, and that qualifies you for promotions that can bring you big amounts of coin that you can use, but you still have to use it as barter. And you have to basically treat it as a medium of exchange and don't look for an exchange. But we're building our economy that way. We have trade fairs around the world, people buying cars and land with this coin, the Kringle coin. So please, I love to explain it to you further. And I have not been doing any sort of videos about this and coordinating because I've been so focused on working with Manna World Holding Trust and Tank and Thomas, and really trying to focus on what has happened with this GCR, the big lie. And please, go back and watch that series. There's quite a few videos we did on that, really talking about it in depth. And I really urge you, if you've been waiting, stop waiting. So people ask me, well, what do I do with my currencies now? Put them in a box and keep them. And who knows what will happen in the future. But you don't need them to do a project with Manna World Holding Trust. You can get funded without holding on to those papers. So just realize that that's not something that you need to worry about anymore. You don't have to do any busy work on it. Just get ready to do your project. So that is some of the fastest way that I can tell how, if you want to stop waiting, please, I'm working with people. I had a couple people that partnered with me last week, and we're working on how do we establish this as a as a cash flow for them. This helps people with their immediate issues. I'm very happy when our projects are funded, and maybe it is today. There is no telling when it will happen. But in the meantime, I'm working with people to help them develop a cash flow and also help us. I literally create a different economic system, a community where we trade with one another. And, there's methods that we use to dealing with each other on an equal basis. We treat each other as 50-50 partners. And this is a mindset change. Right? It's not putting anyone above anyone else. So these are models that we have to basically, learn to use. If you've ever been in a 50-50 partnership with someone, it's quite different than when it's 51-49. So there's a really big change. The percentage between them is very tiny. So when we move forward in the world and we're making an abundance-based world, we need to focus on what we want to do differently than the existing system. Existing system creates a lot of negativity because of one main component. That is the charging of interest for something that doesn't exist. Charging interest for something that does not exist, meaning that the money that they're lending is really just an agreement for you to pay. There's no gold behind it. There's no land behind it. There's nothing but the good faith and credit of the United States of America, Incorporated, and as issued as a Federal Reserve note. So there's nothing behind it. But when you lend it, if there was only, like, I'm going to pick a number, $1 billion and that was all of the whole loan is $1 billion, and that was lent at 10% interest. So the government accepts the billion, and they go ahead and they pay out and do whatever. So the billion now enters into the economy. After the billion is out there circulating, what happens? Well, the government has to pay the loan. What do they have to pay? They have to pay 110%. They need $1.1 billion to pay. But there's only $1 billion out in the economy. Where did they get the extra 0.1? And by the way, it's still out there in the economy. They haven't received it back in taxes, right? They haven't pulled it back out of the economy. But let's say they could pull 100% out of the economy, with $1 billion coming out, there would still just another 100 million. That 10%. Where does that come from? Well, they got to borrow it. Okay, but they need still $1 billion. So now they're going to borrow 1.2 billion, and they're going to owe 10% over that in the next year. So literally, the money doesn't come from it. It's a Ponzi scheme. They always have to borrow more than what they borrowed the previous year. In what they call this in the political world of the talking heads on TV and the Democrat versus Republican, is raising the debt ceiling. Right? They raise the debt ceiling. It sounds like they're just increasing their credit line, right? But what it really is a bankruptcy reorganization. They reorganize the bank, and they say, "Well, we need more credit in order to do this." And of course, it's graciously granted an increase in what they they're going to have. That's why it keeps going up and it's into the trillions, because they cannot stop it. They have to keep following. So now, how do you create a system that is not going to do that? Number one, don't charge interest. It is really the route where money becomes an instrument of its labor. And I see the Galactic Unicorn has made it back onto the broadcast. Come in. This is a space command to Galactic Unicorn. Come in, Galactic Unicorn.
Greetings from the Galactic Unicorn universe.
So now it's going to be there forever, even though you've switched the icon over to the superhero.
I'm so comfortable with that. I feel like, hey, like unicorns are awesome.
I'm comfortable with it. Yeah. I told you I wanted an icon just like it because it's a really cool icon.
Yeah, I will. So you were breaking it down just now, huh? Talking about the debt system.
Yeah. I was just kind of going into how I kind of started off with like Mana World Holding Trust and what's behind it, and I found since we last talked, I actually did a little research on the Kingdom of Manna. I came across a video that Thomas did with Kim, where she's actually outlining the Kingdom of Manna and its role and its position. So it's actually has a really good information for context for what we're discussing. Right? But to realize that, of course, that they've been removed from sovereignty by Kim. For bad actions on their part, but they're still out there acting as though they are the ones in charge. And so I said we'd wait for you to get on before we go into anything else about that. And then I kind of started talking about a few other things about how to create an abundance-based economy and so on.
Yeah, so I think that is an important kind of that's an important piece to repeat, right? So the Kingdom of Mana was appointed and was really owned by the trust, and it was declared sovereign because the only way to get sovereignty, on paper, so to speak, on this planet, is to be recognized as sovereign by the sole sovereign of the planet.
So you cut out. Oh. The only way to get sovereignty is
right. So the only way to get sovereignty is to be recognized as sovereign by the sole sovereign or the royal monarch of the planet, which is Kim. So in the paperwork, I tried to pull up the paperwork for everyone today to share it. It is on the Speak project, and I will track that down. But I had the email. I found the email with it, but for some reason I couldn't pull it up on the computer I was on. But the point being is that you have this group that was was appointed as the righteous the righteous royal guard of the sovereign of the sole monarch, right? And ultimately made them a king and a sovereign themselves. And that individual was Kim's security, someone that she trusted. And then that was in August of 2017 that you hear her talking about that, and she's describing this, right?
Right.
And
right.
With Thomas in that interview. Now, and it wasn't. I confirmed this with her today because I was contacted today by a gentleman, like you and me, Dan, who's been in this fight for a long time, right, and really fighting for all of us to be sovereign. And he made a great statement, and I completely empathize. He said, this is all I've done. He goes, for the past 10 years. He said, because there's nothing else worth doing. At the end of the day, it's, when you're fighting for your freedom and you realize everything else is contributing to fueling your enemy, right? Everything else and every other, every corporation and, the global currency reset, all these different things, they all, they're all contributing to fuel your enemy. You end up taking a stand, right? You take a stand here, and this is like it's it's a battle. It's really a battle if you been in this for any length of time. Um, but that being said, one of the things he mentioned was about that he had some guys who were inside, at the Kingdom of Manna, and that they were working, and he said to me that they were working directly with Kim, and they had spoken to her, and she's lovely, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's not true as far as I know, and but I wanted to check it with Kim in case something had radically shifted. Um, and so, but they were talking about their plans, which aren't really supposed to be out publicly, so I'll respect that. Um, but it's basically the exact same plan that we have, right? And so basically, the whole idea is like, the perception is that they're still working directly with Kim. Now, I'm suspicious because there is another individual out there who floats around, various alternative media circuits, right? And they claim to, that Kim has been ousted by the Galactic Council or Federation, something or, you know, Star Trek, whatever. And they've ousted Kim, which is not true. That is not. Matter of fact, Kim has performed so well on the various tasks she's undertaken that she's been given new positions, right, over and over again. So, anyways, I had a little bit of confusion then. I was like, well, is it this other person, or is it a misconception, or is this like some secret mission? So, I checked with Kim maybe an hour ago, and she confirmed exactly what I knew previously, that she has not spoken to the Kingdom of Manna or had anything to do with them since November of 2017, when she discovered that they were part of a plan working with uh, the programmers who were designed a separate financial system, that they were working on the Bush Ranch in Paraguay with the intent to take over the system from Kim and steal it the way the cabal always does. And that was after 2 years Kim invested in building that system with them. So they are not working with the Mana World Holding Trust, and they do not have access to the real assets of the planet. And there is no path for them to gain access to the assets in any way. There is no path that exists that they can do that. What they have done is they've created a Mana cryptocurrency, and they're trying to build that as the next big thing. This is it.
Ah,
What's that?
okay. I said, ah.
Yeah. So now the now this is what's really fascinating, right? So uh, a lot of people, like, over time, right? They get frustrated, in my group, right, and on this path, and they've thrown a temper tantrum, and they're like, you know what, we're out of here, and they take off, and and then they send me like mean spirited texts later, like, we're working with the real heads of this whole thing now, so you're on the wrong path, man. You like all this stuff, right? And and they're always like really bold and arrogant and empowered, right? Um, and lo and behold, all those guys now. I always laugh because I'm like, okay, you guys keep talking. I haven't said anything about them. I don't say their names. I don't talk about them. I don't
Yeah,
care.
who is it again?
I'm not going to say. See,
Oh,
you
okay.
try to get me, but I know. Um, but my point is that these guys. I've had a few guys like that, right? And and they run their mouth and they think they're working with the top dogs because all these cabal guys, right? They've been working on this plan forever, right? Or not, to basically set up the cryptocurrency. So they all think they're going to, you know, they're going to game the system, bypass actually having the assets, and they'll just use crypto. But what's funny about that, right, is that if they did that, and then the other thing is in times past, they would kill Kim, right? in like different timelines, we'll say that they would kill Kim because they think they've identified the individual who can access the system, right? Who has ownership of it. And then that person, so they kill Kim, and then this other person tries to access the system. And when that person tries to access the system, they can't. So the world goes into chaos, right? Because if you just had cryptocurrency, you basically have nothing. And the quantum system accesses everything, controls all the systems. So if you can't access any of the systems, you don't have control of the assets, and you also all of the regular systems, you can't get to the master control of any of them, right? So at the end of the day, what you end up have happening is, you know, demolition, right? Because somebody else owns the assets of the planet because it'll revert back to the previous owner, which would be like the Draconians or something.
Right.
So
I was also describing our conversation earlier. I said what we can do because there's so much information and who's on what side and where do they come from. We could create this whiteboard on iDraw.io, and then we could just put things up and draw the lines just like they did on the CIS crime board, right? And so this is how we can figure it all out, put the information together. Like say, where does because I think on the same video that I was just listening to about the Mana Kingdom of Mana was Tim was I think, or it was Thomas, one of them were saying that there's all these different names of the trust or parties, and they mentioned again Swiss Indo, which I had a personal connection to 4 years ago, where I walked into the situation and saw them form, and what their mission was, and I applauded them, and it was great. And I always wish them success, but nothing had happened, where it was able to download funds into people's accounts and so on. So, but where do they fit? How does that fit? How does these other trusts come in play? I say the Saint Germain trust. Someone had, was that I'm talking with on about the GCR, and he said, well, obviously, we can only have the GCR happen because the Saint Germain Trust can only be opened on Easter or Christmas.
right. I listen. We could have a whole show on why the RV didn't just happen or why it's about to happen, right?
Well, no, it's
Because
about to happen right now. It's happening now.
perpetually, right? But yeah, well, what's interesting is what do you know what the actual Saint Germain Trust is called? Because there is no trust registered anywhere in the world called the Saint Germain Trust, at least not in ancient trust with truckloads of money, according to Kim, which that means it's pretty accurate because she has access to everything. So so it's like I trust her. I trust her. Yeah, there isn't an actual Saint Germain Trust registered there, but I've heard that it's called something else.
Oh, I don't know. So maybe that would
Okay.
be the information we could start piecing together on this whiteboard, and we can actually give access to other people who may have some information to go ahead and put their information up on the whiteboard and
Oh
start.
my gosh, that is so much fun. By the way, I love that idea. I love that idea. Yeah, let's work that out right away.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Let's at least start trying to piece this together. I mean, everyone has different information about this. Even I heard the Mana World Holding Trust, and I heard about Kingdom of Manna. You know, how how do if I'm working over here on something, to bring in some more information and then dive deep, it takes a lot of effort, to try and figure out what's going on there. So. And that's
Yeah.
any new information. So at least this way, it would be a place where people could come and look at it, and then view it, and then zoom around and see where things kind of fit.
Yeah, you and I were talking about this a little bit too. Is when you see actual evidence that's reflecting what we're talking about. So you know, I very carefully watch everything that we've shared over the past year, right? Between Kim, Thomas, and I, the different things, different segments we put out, right? And like different things, Kim says, okay, we just did this, right? And then you look for a reflection because something's got to show, right? I mean, if the Federal Reserve, is no longer in effect and their charter doesn't work anymore, well, they shouldn't be doing anything anymore, right? So right after we said that, they stopped
They
adjusting.
can't change the interest rate.
Right, they can't change the interest rate. And then now, everybody's talking about this that the past 2 days, the Federal Reserve hasn't had a single transfer go through it in the past 2 days. And I forget what the average amount of transfers that go through the Federal Reserve are per day, but definitely always more than zero. Like always. So not a single transfer has gone through the Federal Reserve in the past 2 days. Why? Well, the reason why is because there was a aggressive hack that took place over the weekend, and that has something to do with their attempt to revalue, you know, and register the currency out of Zimbabwe or something like that. And you know, this was the the latest hack, right? They were trying to hack the trust, and they were trying to register and access. I think, if I understand correctly, register against the in-ground assets of Zimbabwe, right? A story that probably most of us have heard before. But all of those assets are registered to the trust. So when you try to do that, the trust, the quantum system recognizes that, and you know, it boots it out. So right now, um, Kim is currently cleaning out that hack because that did some actual damage, not to the quantum system, but to the financial system itself. Because they put all types of siphons in place and things of that nature. And this had to do with General Dunford, who is defiantly determined to stay the course of the bad guys. Unfortunately. So he's loyal to the Chinese elders.
And you used to have conversations with him.
Well, I would get information directly from the conference call. Like there's that I can't say what else I was allowed to do, but I used to get information directly from that, and I would also get messages directly, emails directly from a couple different generals there.
Okay.
Yes, of the top four. It's I'm sure I even talk about that too much, but it's sensitive stuff. But um, and I'm just careful just because I don't want to. I mean, like I've outed them and said like, look, you guys are working on the wrong side. I don't. It's a fine line between are they bad guys?
Right.
I don't think they were when I knew them. I didn't think they were bad guys, but I don't know if you keep making decisions that are supporting planetary genocide. Um, I don't know. I guess you are kind of a bad guy now, right? Like, you're basically
Do they believe that that's what the outcome is? See, that's the other side. Do they? That's probably where. No, well, I'm not supporting worldwide genocide. I'm just trying to get
well.
money released for the world. This is the way it has to happen. We planned it. It's all ready to go. It's happening now. And
Well,
then
but I would say this. No, I think it connects, right? So it starts with the first deception, right? So you go back to the Iron Mountain report. Make the environment an enemy of the people, right? So you create the global warming epidemic, which in and of itself sounds like ominous, but it's global warming caused by carbon emissions, right? Carbon dioxide emissions. Now, you sell that, and anybody who doesn't buy into that, you kill them off, right? So now you've got a bunch of people that really buy into it, who don't know anything about science, but they are your doers, right? They're the ones who realize, look, that you've sold the plan. No matter what, we have to reduce the population of the planet, right? And they've been sold that bill of goods. So you have the Georgia Guidestones goes up, right? So now it's written in stone, literally, right? It's written in stone. So we all know. right? And people don't talk about this, but there was like a pocket in there that actually explained how to do this, right? So they took that document out, but it's written in stone. 500 million people, keep
Is
sustainable
there,
numbers.
is there a copy of that document anywhere around?
Yeah, yeah, there is. I've seen it, but I can't. I haven't been able to I haven't been able to retain a copy. Put it that way. But I mean, you can look at the Iron Mountain report. It's the same. It's the same basic premise. I mean, they're not overly creative. It's like, kill the people, enslave the people, cause war with the people, laugh about it. That's kind
That
of that's
four.
the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
It's a
my
five.
point is, so
Martini.
if you're a big shot military general, right? You got to make big decisions for the world, right? Especially when like they've pumped you up full of medals and told you that you're a god. It's like you know you've got to save the planet, right? So your ego gets out there, and you've got to make the hard decisions, right? You're the man. So
Yeah, it's a
you,
psyop on the military generals.
right, exactly, and that is it's part of the programming. So they believe that it has to happen. The genocide has to occur to save the human race and to save the planet. Now, I don't think they really even believe that, but I'm sure that's what they're selling the people underneath them, right? They're like, we have to do this, you know, to save mankind. We have to kill mankind. It's like in their mind, they think they're part of the 10%. So, General D, you are not part of the 10%. You will be killed too. Actually, you might be part of the 10%, but you're definitely going to be killed. Like if you keep this course. So, not a threat, by the way, just a public service announcement. Like,
Well,
so
they get it down to 10%. It's easy to take out the last 10%.
well, right. I mean, it's not, and I have forget what Thomas says is the next stage exactly how they do the next 10%. But long story short, it's like, what would it take? Yeah, I mean, like you have a bunch of the mantis come in here and activate some. Thank you, sir. You activate some of the nanites, right, and in their brains that say kill each other. you know, you've already proven what works. Military domination. If you're, you know, it's like there can be only one at the end of the day. So everybody will just kill each other.
Yeah. Leave the planet. You've all decided to kill each other. So, oh, good. Now it's clean slate. Then everyone can move in. That's ready to get rid of this group and then start again. So, actually, I was going to ask you something else on that video. Kim happened to mention about how a country becomes sovereign. That they have I think she said a pamphlet or a handbook or something on it. Is there actually such a document for the country? So they say this is what you need to do. Is that available to be seen? Is it on the Speak project?
I don't have it, but yes, I'm certain that exists. What the process is. Like you have to do this. Like there's steps and pieces. Actually, the group down in the Aboriginal tribes down in Australia there, uh, they're the ones that actually they have a whole process with like the shield symbols and exchanging of documents and my sovereignty acknowledging your sovereignty and this whole process, right? And like you have to like change the way the shield symbol is, right, for the country or whatever. Like the lines have to be like the horizontal lines have to be, or the vertical lines have to be dotted lines to break the spells that are there. This whole process. you know
That'll be
Now,
interesting. Maybe we can get that handbook also and go over it so we could discuss those issues. And then one of the other things that I picked out, and I only got 20 minutes into the video, and so there's a lot of information there. So it brought forth a lot of questions. So it was in Papua New Guinea that they actually were given land for the Kingdom of Manna, and that was set up, and the
Yeah.
sovereignty was, given to the Kingdom of Manna. Now, I'm sorry, given to the people of Papua New Guinea, and then the Kingdom of Manna also there, because they had. Is that correct? That the Papua New Guinea also had sovereignty restored?
Oh, not to my. I mean, not to my knowledge. As far as I know, it's just
Okay.
the only other
Question.
sovereign.
Yeah, it wasn't clear to me, so that's why I was asking if that was the case. And then I was going to ask if it is the case, did it also get rescinded, at the same time, or what happened along those lines? And is that land still part of the Kingdom of Mana that was, given to them by the people of Papua New Guinea?
Well, it's interesting. I know that there's you know the idea of the Kingdom of Manna, we'll say, right, or Manna World Holding Trust owns property all over the world. Like they have. I mean, all the United Nations property and all these different things, and I believe that's set up for various embassies and things of that nature to to be able to have a presence, right, as the unknown country in every country. I guess suddenly becoming the known country. Um, but I'm not sure where that is. But it's kind of like what Tui said the other day, right? Like they have 1,000 acres that they set aside just for manna. So
Okay. Yeah,
I'm,
well, these are just questions that were coming to mind. And again, I'm only 20 minutes into that video, so I'm sure there'll be even more questions. But it'll be good if we dig into some of these things and give some perspective to people. And I said I'm gonna link that video to the bottom of the description here after we get off the air,
yeah, it's a
so
good idea.
we could get some of that background, just to realize that it's not no longer a valid kingdom. I don't know what the best way to put it, but they've been stripped of their status by Kim.
That is correct. They are no longer sovereign. They they betrayed the sole sovereign royal monarch on the planet. So
Well, is there a royal decree that could be viewed about that?
um, I don't think so. You know what? There might be. Kim has been very, very careful not to put anything else out. Because you got to think. I mean, this was her
Yeah.
security, right? Now the story I was told from that's um, is there kind of uh, filtering about with the remaining members of the Kingdom of Manna, who I have no doubt are most of them I'm sure are lovely people, by the way. Um, but currently they're under the impression that the individual who was declared the king there, um, that he worked as Kim's security, which is true, and he was supposed to kill her, right? But then he had a change of heart, right? He decided not to. That's how the story goes, but in their world, right? Um, Meanwhile, uh,
That's
which
their story, and so their story is that king was gave an order to kill Kim and then changed his mind.
yeah, like the whole reason why he was there, like put in place as her security, right, was to kill her, or like probably to figure out how to
Well,
get access.
not. This was before why he became her security.
Something like that, right? Because remember what I said, the in different timelines and versions of this, what has happened is they identify someone who can access the trust, right? And then once they do, they kill Kim because they can control this other person, whoever that person is.
Right.
So that's what they did. I mean, Kim actually transferred $5 billion that was owed to that individual, that was held for him in an account on the back ledger. She transferred that money in to this new financial system, and she trusted them enough that she actually allowed them into the system to see the accounts, and to see all the different things that were in there. That, and the system was completely integrated that way. So, so, and then they betrayed her, right? So she pulled the money back. But that's the kind of thing that is, that's the kind of stuff that's tragic, right? With all this, it's like, my heart goes out to Kim, because like it's so hard for her to trust anybody, because she says that everything comes down to the 7 deadly sins at this level. People get to this level and they're like, yeah, I can be the boss, right? Or something like that, and they go for it, right? They try to steal everything, and then she's kind of left in limbo, because that's something she worked on for 2 years with a guy who was her security for like 4 years. It's like, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Nobody likes to be betrayed by someone that is supposed to be keeping you safe.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting story. This needs to be a movie.
Yeah, to say the least. It's amazing. This whole thing is like incredible, and real. It's really happening in real time. So,
yeah.
But anyways, I think that's important, because I don't really understand fully, where the current Kingdom of Manna is, or who's working it, or or what's going on there. I just know that the individual I spoke to seemed to be like, he was under the impression like, no, they're working with Kim. It's all a plan. So any country in the world, or government officials who, if the Kingdom of Manna shows up and they say, no, we're working with Kim, no, they're not. They are lying. They're not working with Kim. And
I just, as a side note, I just sent Tui the link to join in. So hello, Tui. You can jump in. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about this and regard, because he had the go around with the Kingdom of Mana as well. Oh, he's already here. Hello, Tui.
Perfect.
Tui, are you ready? No, it's just disconnected. So,
Hi, Dan.
hey, Tui. How's it going?
I'm good. Greeting to you guys. Greeting to you, Tank. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Has Kevin started turning color yet?
Yeah, today we're doing his it's a farewell ceremony, just to bid him farewell, and because
I thought he was going to be there forever.
He'll be leaving tomorrow. He wants to go and start some changes in where he is after learning. Yeah.
Yeah. When you get to the islands, you don't want to leave.
Yeah, he don't want to leave because he's so connected here. Yeah. But he has responsibility back home on what he's come. He has come here to actually learn and physically experience. So there's a lot of change in him for the past few days. Changing the frequencies, the awareness, more calm now, more balanced. He came with fire and air. He came here, and we grounded him to the earth and to water. And so he has to balance this element within his life. And that's how the 5th element within them become balanced. And so, he's learned so much in just a few days. And because he's been learning a lot in his life, he's been experienced a lot, and he's been through a lot. He's researched a lot. He's fully understood a lot. And when he came here and fully experienced it in a different environment or a different way of learning, it actually just changed his whole life. And so, he's calm, he's relaxed. He's basically Fijian now.
Yeah, basically Fijian, just like that.
Yeah.
let me ask you. I know you had mentioned before that you had some dealings with the Kingdom of Mana, and since that's our topic,
Right.
Today.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah. So,
That's good.
what was your
Yeah,
experience?
the Kingdom of Mana.
What were they saying to you?
Yeah, so basically, because you've heard me speak the first time we spoke, and about the role and the awareness of what my people are, and when the Kingdom of Mana actually come in first, because they call themselves the Kingdom of Mana, we thought that this was our agreement, and it is part of the agreement. But it's still part of the agreement. It's just there's some lesson that has to be learned by the people that were involved uh, from the high level, from Kim and the Kingdom of Mana. That's the lesson they had to learn on their own. The differences that comes between them, because Kim fully understands that there won't be any, dividing. Only love and unity will be able to change the planet. And so when they try to actually come up with the idea to create a new banking system, that's the lesson they have to learn. That this change will only come from within, from everyone, and there's no judgment. Like I've spoken to the King, His Majesty. Uh, he means well, and I've spoken to him, but I told the chiefs, we talked, and we fully understand where he's coming from, trying to do good and all. They've came to Papua New Guinea, and they've actually do some exchange of sovereignty, and they've talked with all the people that are government in Papua New Guinea. They bought a land that was in Los Negros, and we've been in contact because they understand, the Kingdom of One understand the role of what the Pacific people have to do with the trust and have to do with agreement, and what we represent on the planet. Like you were talking about how we represent the parasympathetic state for awareness of the planet. And so yes.
Uh, is the I'm hearing you come back at me. Echo. Okay. So is the you were just talking about land. So is this about land in Papua New Guinea, or was that land in Fiji?
Okay. The Papua New Guinea, they were able to buy land from the natives in Los Negros, and they were a piece of land, and they're funded by Kim, and they actually have a few. I think Tank will know that, a few billions that were, because they were working together at the time.
So Kim had funded them with $5 billion. That's what the Tank had said a little earlier. And then
yeah.
they used that to buy land in Papua New Guinea as their own sovereign territory.
Yes. And so the name of the island is Los Negros. You can look it up on Google. Just type Los Negros.
It was a whole island.
Yeah.
I see.
So they're planning to build abundant cities, just like you were planning there then. Yeah. Abundance. What you call this? Abundant system. Maybe a country to be the headquarters in the Pacific, to be the Mana Kingdom headquarters, and so. And so we reached out to them first because of them claiming the sovereignty of the Mana, and because as we are well aware of what's going on, and as soon as we started communicating, I reached out to them. I reached out to His Majesty, and I tried to reach out to Kim, because my agreement is with Kim. It's not with any other agreement. We have the Ra Confederacy Agreement that is unknown to anyone else on the planet. It's only known to the people that are there involved. And so there was a system they tried to create. They bought land there, and they wanted to work with they tried to develop. There were some people here in Fiji actually been invited to go and work there and help on the security side of things. And the people will trade, the people that can work actually to build cities that they've been planning. And so they are here training right now. There are some people from here that are invited to actually go in there and work. And I've talked personally with His Majesty Michael Urel, and they've talked with the chiefs. But and then I tried to reach out to Kim. I wrote a letter to them personally, which I gave to Tank to actually read, so that because this is part of like the reason. The thing is, it's part of my soul agreement, and I can see the way they're actually trying to help people is not the way that is. I mean, they might think that they are helping people, but they are not actually going to return the sovereignty if they do this, do it in that way, or help people in that way. They want to come in and build houses, build factories, and tell people, like you try and come here and tell them what to do. But in reality, you actually, you're just almost doing the same thing that people are the olden times or the old system are trying to do, which you don't create an environment where they'll be able to learn and to be able to regenerate themselves and to get sovereignty on their own. And so I try to talk to them about it, but they somehow they don't have that proper understanding or the proper way of actually looking at the change in the world. And so I told them, if you do the same thing, you'll just be like those United Nations, trying to trying to say and change the world and trying to unite in the same way. And if you do that again, we'll not reach the future that everyone wants, the future of everyone's sovereignty, or even countries, because you're trying to help everyone, even though you don't understand what help they need. You think they need, houses. They know it's the regeneration of how people have to freely think and recreate their own environment and regenerate, because this is what the innate ability that's within them. It's called the fifth element, and this fifth element can only be expressed if it is given a chance. And so, to be sovereign, this fifth element will become sovereign on its own, and people will be able to use it and utilize it for travel, for anything that they are doing. But right now, everyone's trying to physically help the planet, try to not just physically, but the four elements: the water, the air, the land, and the fire. And so they don't understand that the fifth element within everyone, if it's given the chance, it will just change the whole planet, and everything will just work together. And this is what the people, a lot of them that are trying to do changes, need to understand. Because if you want to physically force the other element like water, and you will be trying to use fuel to do this and be able to move things on air, move things on the land, or even in the sea, or even in the water. So that's what the basic technology that people will figure out. Just like the land, we plant a seed, and the seed just grow by itself, and it uses all the natural awareness of the fifth element, and we don't have, and the four elements just follow it. They will just grow and express themselves in that way. So that's the same thing that will be applied to everyone on the planet. They will just follow how the fifth element works in and follow the rules, the laws. Tesla and all these people, they've already figured it out. And these were like intelligence that were where the planet was designed. And this is what the NI is actually is used. I mean, the fifth element is what it used to actually to do the work that it's doing. And it's how it's connected to everything. And so I tried to reach out to the Kingdom of Manna to express my role. But then I wasn't able to reach her because like I said, it's an email. We exchanged a little bit of email, and I've actually copied the email to Tank, and Tank has read they've said that Kim has jumped into the negative side, and
you mind if I read that to you, just that part?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so this is after Tui expressed that he was reaching out to Kim because the agreement was Kim. It says, "Dear brother Tui, please keep all communication from here on to our email, either this one or my Gmail you previously answered. But yes, you know what must be done and has already commenced for many years now on many levels. Miss Kim, I am sorry to tell you, has been removed by the Universal Council as trustee as of last October 2017 and crossed sides to one of the dark agencies, I'm sorry to say." That's their claim.
Yeah. And so
Which
I
is
kind of,
not true, just for the record. It's
yeah,
not true.
This
because
is
I got a little bit angry when they wrote that, because they didn't recognize my sovereignty, and they want me to recognize them. And so I wrote them the personal letter because of who I am in the spiritual essence of what I am. And they didn't get it. They didn't understand where I was coming from. And I didn't blame them, because the agreement is not anyone else's. It just belongs to the Ra family entity. And that's the Ra and the Za confederacy. Even Kim will have the surprise on why her DNA is the only DNA that can walk on the NI right now. It's because of that. It's because of that old agreement that is hidden. But those people that were in the old system, they could understand. They know that it was her. That's her 10 that's gonna come up after 2017. And so I'm just waiting for 33 years to reach out to her, and they said that she's jumped to the other side. And I told them, I replied to the next letter, and I told them that I mean, TANK has read it, and read what I actually tell there, because if there's no unity between the masculine and the sun and the feminine entity, feminine essence of the Ra family entity, the Za and the Ra, then there will be always be chaos, and there will always be problems. There won't be any new creation created. And so she has the creative energy, and that's the creative force outside. I have the spiritual energy, and that's why I'm I didn't want to tell you all these things, but if you hear the a few days that we've been talking, I fully understand what the spiritual energy needs to be, what the fifth element needs to, how it must work. And that's the only way. We have to follow how the fifth element does its own you know how it works around the planet. We don't If you go against it physically, then we'll be using power, we'll be using fuel, we'll be going against we won't be working together with the planet. We'll be just be arguing against each other and be fighting. People will just die. There will always be chaos. And so even right now that we're talking right now, we're actually doing that. We're just following the collective fifth element of the awareness of the planet, of everyone. And so it might be, like, it's not a coincidence. We are just doing what we're supposed to be doing, following our own agreement. And this is how it has to work. You can't force anything on anyone to change. You can tell them that they are doing wrong. They have to create their own and follow the way their soul agreement has to be. And this is not just to the human beings, but to every living beings on the planet. They will have to follow. They have to grow, just like any tree. They'll grow. The coconut tree will always be a coconut. They will always follow that agreement. And if they try to change, they will learn that lesson. And so that's why I'm thankful to you guys for awareness and actually giving me an opportunity to share and talk about it. And there are much deeper secrets that will be figured out so easily that it's just outside plain sight. We will be able to travel. We'll be able to use. We'll be able to travel. Use cars that don't run on any fuel. Just run on its own. Don't fly on its own, or it just happens because we are not trying to go against the element. We are using the element to work together with the rest of the four, and then the fifth element will just because the fifth element is the awareness, just like the human body. The fifth element is the awareness within you that recognizes and actually organizes and understands the rest of the four elements. But the fifth element has to be the four elements has to come together first to be able to form the fifth element, and they work together as one. And so that is part of the agreement that has to be realigned, and that is why people in the US, people are in the state right now, in the consciousness state that the whole country is in right now. You're just following your own soul agreements, and it's going to work together. And that's one of the reason why Kevin came all over the US, coming here, following the fifth element. That's all. Everything will just work on its own. The plane tickets that like that's so hard to get within that short time. It just happens. You just stand up, boom, everything will just work. And so those are lessons that that people have to not just to learn, but actually to learn it, and then using faith and awareness to be able to work together with what is within them. And so scientists will figure it out very soon. There are people already figuring out how to use the fifth element. Some people call them the earth, the ether. Some people call it the God particle. But it's simply, you are the example. And you start from you, and then everything will just work. And if you understand how your body works and how it combines all the four elements, and then create, and the fifth element is the awareness within you, and it's shared around everyone. And that's why we're doing what we're doing right now. We're just following that path, and I know it's going to grow, it's going to accelerate. Now it's going to really accelerate really fast. And so Kingdom of Manna, they bought a land here. We told them that there are land here in Fiji. They didn't have to pay. That's why. But now that it's not their role, because if it's not their role, then it will just not work. Because that's how the fifth element works. It knows what it's doing. If you try and physically force the change and try to think of what is right for the planet, you will go against it. And there will be no judgment. There'll only be lessons that people will learn. And so there's no judgment or trying to negatively judge people, and there's none of that. There's just lessons for everyone to learn, and then learn from there, and then try to change the future and try to recreate a new one from the learning experience that they've gone. If they didn't learn, or they didn't learn it, then if they repeat it again in the future, then they will just go back to square one, and not allowing the world, the planet, to work on its own. And so this is the allowance that people have to try and understand. They have to walk with the wave of the planet. If they walk against it, they force it, everyone will learn their lesson. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy that you've joined us and have this brought this time to everyone, where we can experience the fifth element, and have an understanding of it. Outside the movie, while with Bruce Willis, the fifth element, we have the experience of how things manifest, right? And if you try to force something, it just will go against it, and the harder you push against, the harder it'll be pushed back against. So the people that have been supporting the Kingdom of Manna will probably be finding out that it's a hard road to push through on.
Yeah.
So this is well, it's good that we're talking about this right now, and I got more information from Tui. Always happy to hear your addition to what we're talking about, Tui. So thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, DANK. That's being grateful is the only way that you will allow everything to work on their own, and recognize each other. Because that's even though we live in a different world, small world, but we are all connected, and we are moving together at once. And maybe that awareness will grow within a few years. People will be able to understand things like how they're connected to everything, and they will be able to just roll and connect and do things the way they're supposed to do, connect. So that's why when you ask me about sovereignty, believe me, I understand fully what I'm actually talking about. And it's been, even though I'm just 33 years old, my soul is very, very old. It's from the future. And so I don't talk about that a lot, but since we're discussing about the mana and the agreement of what the Za and the Ra confederacy means, I have to, you have to recognize that that is what I am. It's my essence, you may say. And for 33 years, the chiefs here, it's not just a coincidence that a 33-year-old guy is here leading all the chiefs in Fiji, talking to them like they're small kids, and teaching them about the future, teaching them about the past, teaching them about things that are not normally known, and breaking their awareness from being enslaved by the religious systems, the political systems, the slave systems that has been running the world, the government. Now they fully know who they are, they fully know the role, and we fully know what we are playing and our part that we are playing in this great change. And just like any other being on the planet, everyone has their role, and together it has to work together. And so we've done our role, and I know Kim will be given the chance to do her role, and we will continue and create a new future from there. And it's so easy. It's not hard. If it's done out of love, it is not. It will just work together. No matter how much they try to kill her or try to actually threaten her, once we get connected, the masculine energy is mine, and that's the fundamental, the spiritual, and the heart energy that Tank actually draw up, and he just actually he draws the raw collective mind, and that's what I represent. And I'm amazed, like he has a very special. Tank, you are very special, and you can see there are things that you can see in the future that I don't want to even talk about. But since you put it up and draw it, it just shows that you're following the fifth element that's within you, and you know how to be one with it, and he'll just give you all the information you might want to think that you're trying to look for, but you will see it. Because it's all within everyone. It's all within the plants. They know it. They will always grow the same agreement that they follow, and that's what what is unique in our human experience. We grow in the same way through the experience of moving around. The plants will just stand still and grow up. We will move. We will grow as we move around and we experience. And we experience everything through the decision, the choices, the awareness, and how we value everything. And now, I've been talking for the past few days with you guys, talking about how the fifth element comes into place and how it has to be aligned, and how first that sovereignty that has to be exchanged. With every tribes that's on the planet, every people that will try and create an environment where this can be done so easily that everyone can claim that essence that is actually binding to the trust right now. And so that has to be done physically. That's our role as the chiefs here. We'll teach people and we'll let them know how to do it, so that this spiritual agreement that has been binding for thousands of years can be released, and we can create a new world, a new timeline, and a new future. And so that's the reason why we are writing that letter. And believe me, we fully understand what when we wrote that letter. That's why when you read it, it completely, you will feel that even though I wrote it myself, so I wrote it with 3 other people, and I fully understand what I'm actually writing down. And I know when people will read it, they will see that it's it's straight to the point. It is nothing else, because we know exactly what is in the trust and what is needed to actually rechange my nation here in Fiji, and rechange and for the people to be sovereign again. And so without that, without this exchange, sovereignty here in Fiji won't be complete. It will always be stuck, where there will always be differences. There will always be money. There will always be all these enslavement systems that is still binding spiritually. And so we are thankful for this time to actually be involved and be talking to you, reaching out to Kim, reaching out to you, Tank, and you doing all the role that you're playing. We are very thankful for that. And we have Kevin here representing everyone else, wherever they come from the planet, and being able to witness and being able to he himself learn and fully aware of the fifth element within him, that he's not looking for it anywhere. It's just within him. He just came here to just experience And that's why people will ask him, what are you learning? And he will say, I don't know, I can't tell you, because you cannot put it into words. If you physically put it out of your mouth, then you're using air to express the fifth element, and that's wrong. You can't speak about the fifth element. You can't take it out, you can bring it out. You have to just live it. And your life, whatever you choose, will be it. And this is how people have to grow and get their sovereignty back. And they have to relearn this, because it has been taken away, and they've been enslaved in a system that they've been trained so young and so used, and they will have to relearn it and then make their way back on their own. On their own. That's the most important thing, because everyone shares this energy. Everyone is a son and daughter of the living creation force that is God, that is within. And so I'm fully thankful. I'm thankful to actually be talking to you about it today.
Well, thank you for expressing it without saying what it is.
Man,
so now it's much clearer.
That is deep, though. That's a great point, Tui. I mean, I'm just thinking about it now. I mean, that is something that you have to discover for you. All the real lessons that we learn, I guess, are really internal. So that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like in conversation, the power of the dramatic pause, right?
Right.
You allow someone to repeat something in their own voice that you said, and because no one believes anything unless they said it. At the end of the day, we always, at the end of the day, every decision you ever made is because you thought that was the best decision to make, right?
Well,
we always take our own opinion.
One of the other things that I was thinking about on this is, that in the QAnon movement, they have what are called Q proofs. And basically, it's something that shows that usually some time stamp, that was, matching another time stamp from the year before, or that's a 1 year delta, and they have other types of Q proofs. Well, I think we heard a Kim proof in here, because if she was able to download 5 billion, to the Kingdom of Manna would have funds to go buy land in Papua New Guinea. It means she downloaded money.
Yep, that's very true.
So, so did they spend it all? Was it stolen? Is it in someone's bank account? Where are they with it? Are they 5 billion is quite a lot. They could be making a major media buys around the world. They could put many people on salary with 5 billion.
Well, they I mean, just they have embassies that are set up all over the world, which was the intent, to basically do what my impression is a lot of what we've done on with no money with create change, and where we've put people in place around the world to begin the distribution of funds. They've had longer to do it, and they've had I'm not sure exactly what what happened with that money, to be honest. I don't know. I know there was $5 billion that was transferred into that system that was created by Kim with these programmers / hackers, and then she discovered that they were operating out of Paraguay for the Bush family, with every intention of stealing the money. And I'm sure they, as I've said, we've done this, so to speak, 6 other times, right? And the 6 other times, we've never made it this far in the timeline. And 6 other times.
In what reference? What do you mean 6 other times?
Well, I mean, this is just the way it goes. This is how the story goes. Is that
are we talking like 10,000 year timelines? Or are we talking about the last 5 years?
No. We're talking like repetition of 10,000 year long term timeline. I think it's actually 2,000 years that we've looped back to do this again, right? And we've this is part of the reason why you have there's timelines that existed where Y2K, the world did end, there's a version of that, a timeline like that. There's one where I think it's in 2006, and then remember in 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar. All of these are different timelines that were where the world did end, so to speak, right? And there's actually evidence of this, that they found, like, of the remnants of planets that were identical to Earth, right, out there in space. If you consider that, it's something you have to really conceive of in a very very abstract, kind of open-minded reality that most of us, it's a little hard for us to conceive of because we're so used to, evidence-based science, right? And we have to be able to repeat it, But basically, the way it goes, and I do believe this, by the way, is that this has happened 6 times before. We have come along this path 6 times, somewhere like this, to fulfill this agreement and to have everything converge, with the sovereignty of humanity being returned. And the part played currently by Kim Gogan, right? What they would do is they would identify someone they thought could access the trust as well as Kim, and they would kill off Kim, or the I'm not sure how that works, the individual playing that part, and they would kill her off, and then they would put the other person in place to access the trust, and inevitably they were not able to access the trust, and because they were not able to access the trust, you have chaos ensues, because now all of the assets, if I understand correctly, are returned to the previous owner, right? Which means they'd be returned to the draconian, the Great White Throne, or the Mantis, the Queen. There's this hive mind.
And this is so much part of the same Matrix films, right? The storyline is that it's this current version of Neo was the seventh version, right? And they've always, goes back to source, and everything reverts back, and they start all over again. So,
Yep.
But again, they have to tell us the story, right?
Right. So that's basically what is, this is repeated several times, and then and so this, each time they get somebody right there that they think can access it, and then the planet gets, destroyed with, a nuclear holocaust, basically. And then if I mean, there's some kind of frequency in the system that, you flip it up to a certain frequency, and it turn the whole planet to dust, right? In the NI, because the NI is right now it's natural intelligence because it's gathering all the data on the planet, but prior to that it was only gathering, a specific set of data points. So you could easily manipulate, a message just by limiting what is heard, right?
Yeah. Like polls. When you do polls, you can skew the poll to a certain outcome by the way you ask the question. So if you only provide certain information from a certain frequency, you're going to get a certain answer.
Right. You put the wrong emphasis, the wrong syllable, right? And you completely pervert the message. It's like if I say, I didn't say you stole the money. And then if I say, I didn't say you stole the money, well, now the emphasis is you. So I'm saying somebody stole the money, but it wasn't you. If I say, I didn't say you stole the money, well, I'm saying you took it, but you didn't steal it. I didn't say you stole the money. Well, I'm saying you stole something, but not the money, right? But it's the same words in each sentence, but depending on where you put the emphasis, it completely changes what the perception and the meaning of the sentence is.
It's all about the comma.
Yeah, absolutely. All about the comma. That's us. Yeah. So, but anyway, so basically, in reference to that, this is the seventh time, and this is really, would be the last go round, is my understanding. And I can think of various reasons why, but that's my understanding. And this is the time that we have to get it right. And this is humanity's opportunity, chance to return to the the agreement, the Raza Zara agreement, right? Zara collective.
Is there any other part of that agreement? Is it Zara, Ta, Ba, Ka? Is there any more to that? Or is it just Za and Ra?
I don't know. Tui?
Tui, Tui? Yeah, it's they showing us something. Something's happening. Maybe not.
That was exciting.
The dramatic pause.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, so that's the case there. So
I can do this. This is present to everyone, and so we can see what's going on. They're doing something to Kevin, I think. See, ceremony, maybe.
let's see.
We need a sports announcer.
I can pull it off. Hang on. Let's see here. There's not a lot going on here. The Chiefs are now dipping the holy garments, as is the.
Something's going around us. Like I was being pointed out by the other guy. The guy with the red shirt is walking in the back for some reason.
For some reason. Kevin is the sole white guy in this, in case you weren't sure who it was. Tui is wearing Tommy Bahama.
Hey Dan, sorry. I had to come in and just witness the farewell ceremony that Chief CL actually it's just um, expression of their love of him being here, and then wish him safe journey back home, and they're just actually putting it up on video, and so yeah. So now they're doing one for the Chief and one for Kevin. So because he's gonna be leaving tomorrow.
Cool. We don't really have ceremonies in New York. I'm gonna have to work something out for when Tui comes.
Okay. Let's see. How do I stop? Oh, there we go. All right. Well, that was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see that that Kevin has completed his mission. He's on his next mission.
I know. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
But it's good. He exhibited the fifth element, right? He just left and went and did what he needed to do, and now he's exhibiting the fifth element again by whatever that is that he's going to be going and doing thereafter. So, it's when you have to act for things, and you take it on without the understanding of why all the time. You need to sometimes just go with what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Follow the
I mean, I think this is the the contrast of the reality we want to live in and the reality we kind of do really live in is that, the reality we want to live in, we want it to be magical. We want it to be amazing. We want to be able to see things that we've never seen before and do things we've never been able to do before. And for that to happen, it requires you can't really look backwards and try to get forward, right? Because if all you look at is what you have done, you'll never do anything new.
Mhm.
So, and that's what we're all endeavoring to do, is to create a new world that's more in harmony with the fifth element. That's in all of us, that we're all discovering right now. Which, not sure why we can't talk about it. I feel like we probably can, right?
I think we are. I think we are talking.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it's
I
okay.
think the point was you can't really say in words what it is.
Yeah, right.
So we
That's a
call it
good
the
point.
fifth element. But what is the fifth element? What are the first four? In the movie, the fifth element was love, right?
Right. But to that point, though, I mean, you can't really quantify love, right? You couldn't limit it to anything, and you can, you know, love is the intangible, immeasurable, all in all that we all strive to have and um, can't live without. You know, in reality, I love this idea that to create a world where the substance is formed from the essence, the origin, the substance of all things comes from a place of love. All creation. That's the core principle, right? All creation comes from love.
All right. Well, the creation of babies.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's the first. That's the real creation, right? So yeah,
So the
I
creation
love that.
of things that you set your will upon. And that's we've willed a daily broadcast into existence, and I have a bunch of people coming on. Well, actually, that reminds me. Let me post the link. All right, everyone. The link is posted. If you've been waiting to come on and have a conversation, you're welcome to join us.
And by the way, don't come on if you don't have anything to say. When you come on, make sure you have something to say and say it. Please don't just come on, just and figure it out while you're here. Come on ready, as a rule.
Yeah. So, so I was just looking. Someone wrote there. Thomas Hobson wrote, "Ka ab ba ra sa za." Sa and za. I don't know if that where that's come from, but
I think those are the tones of creation. Thomas
ah,
Hobson, can you please confirm that, please? Let me know if that's right. Yeah, Thomas Hobson is a spirit. He and his wife are lovely spiritual people.
mhm.
They've been involved in all this for a long time. It's amazing to me. I haven't been, right. I mean, so when I meet all these amazing people and they tell me their incredible stories, I love putting all the pieces together to see how the reality of the world is.
Well, we all have our unique path to get to this moment.
Yes.
I'm I have my unique path. It may be a little bit more unique than others, but you've been a super guru in the GCR
Ugh.
world, and I had no idea who you were. Along the time that I'm in the GCR world, it would never cross paths. So only after leaving the GCR world do we actually have our paths cross. So
Yeah. That's it's not many that are were able to jump that ship. If you had a significant role and you'd seen, it's amazing when I talk to people. I'm like, well, there's a reason why. You know, because all that stuff is real. And all that stuff has really been happening. There really is a massive, GCR trying to take place right now. It's
there's
just not
people,
what
real
people thought.
people of stature in the world that have been organizing and saying this is what's going on, and they're all involved.
Yep.
All right. And so it's not a fantasy that these people are involved. It's just who's behind all of it, and the actual goal is what I came to question, right, from the very beginning. I'm willing to go along with things, to see how they unfold, but they weren't unfolding in a way that made any sense. Actually, with Trump coming into office, it actually gave me the biggest doubt as to whether the right path was going. I mean, initially I was thinking, well, okay, seems like this is a good thing, and I was kind of questioning what side Trump was on, and I got kind of like, oh well, he's got dinar, and he's a good guy, and he's doing things from that. So I went along with that, and it seems to have proven out. But still behind the scenes, what was going on there? Only when there's no funds in the government to move forward, and it was set to crash with Hillary in office. Can you imagine? The system was set up to where when Hillary gets in, everything falls apart. Nuclear war, all of the worst things were set to happen, right? But
terrible.
But if they crashed the stock market at that time, they were not going to be bailed out. So they would have been on the also scrapped. So that's why it did not happen. And as for the nuclear events, you say that the system had prevented. Okay, but I think there were people in place they're ready to perform nuclear holocausts against the world, and whether but they did not occur, or the plan was there, and they proceeded. So
yeah.
I have no evidence. I'm not out there with a Geiger counter, and so I can't tell it happened or not happen. But I can very well accept that it didn't happen, but was people were planning. But we definitely had this system set up to fall with Hillary in office, and then she'd let the UN roll through America and take over and scrap the Constitution, scrap the whole country, and they'd be under a worldwide martial law, and then we would be completely screwed, as they were moving people into camps for re-education with guillotines.
Oh, the thought.
I mean, I guess it's very quick re-education. You're educated just that fast.
Just like that. Well, and I'll tell you what else. These, yes, the nuclear missiles have all been disabled, but there are nuclear power plants, and there are these, fourth dimensional weapons that were placed under a lot of those nuclear power plants, and they were trying to set those off last year.
What's a fourth dimensional weapon? What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. It was some kind of plasma, energy combustion thing. I mean, I really don't know. It was just kind of dropped on me by one of my kind of secret military sources, right? And they were telling me what was going on, and I had it confirmed actually with Kim confirmed it, and Jared Rand confirmed it. So it was happening. Like they were trying to do things like that, and those activities. Jared Rand would always blame it on the archons. These beings. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but apparently they're bad guys, right? And aren't fans of us, and they probably feed on fear, if I remember correctly. So having us in a constant state of fear helps them. And they're still trying these pathetic attempts to create fear all over the place, but because their resources are so diminished, they're really pathetic. I mean, imagine that you have a CGI that's so pathetic that the bullets don't hit the ground. The shells from the gun don't hit the ground.
Right. Yeah, well, the QAnon movement of creating these citizen journalists, right? That are digging as soon as something comes up. So if they don't have their I's dotted and T's crossed, it's going to come out. And so their attempts to move attention somewhere are the lifespan of that story is so much shortened, because as soon as the opposition to the story comes up, they've got to drop it and push it behind, right? So it's only lasting a day, 2 days, and then that people got to really they got to come up with something else, and these things are very hard for them to reproduce. I guess one of the other things I wanted to talk with Tui about is what's going on in New Zealand with now the Maoris, I guess is the way you pronounce it now, what their role is in this. So Tui, if you're still there and listening.
Yes, I am here. Sorry, I was just supposed to be part of the ceremony. And yeah, so I was just listening in, but I was quiet.
We can cover this tomorrow too. I was going to ask about the role of the people in New Zealand, the tribes in New Zealand. I think you called it the Maori. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, Maori.
See, it seems like the New Zealand has been selected as like the getaway for the cabal, right? This is their They're going to ride out the war of the world, right? And so they're now trying to get rid of guns from the people's hands, so that they're the only ones that would have guns in that country. I guess that's not working out too well from them. I think they only had 30 guns turned in.
Yes.
So what is the role of New Zealand? Is there a special role? Is there a unique thing? Is there something that we need to do? Do we need to reach out to anyone there?
I will talk from the perspective of Fiji, and the perspective of what the Fijians and the rest of the 12 tribes here in the Pacific represent, not only just here around us here in the Pacific, but around the world. The 26,000 year cycle that has been that has come to an end with all its sovereignties, that has come to an end in 2017, means a lot of people don't fully understand what that means. It seems I'll always try and repeat it so that it can sink in to the awareness. And if they are listening now or in the future from now, they'll have to understand there's no one else is sovereign right now on the planet. No country, no organization, no one else. The chiefs in Fiji, we fully understand this and fully recognize it. When the Great White Throne come to an end, all the sovereignty that was given by him for all the thousands of years that has been going on has been has all come to, what you can say, come to naught, or it doesn't exist anymore. They can be pretending to be countries and to be sovereign, but from our cultural or from the level of sovereignty, individual sovereignty, no one else is actually sovereign right now on the planet except for the trust and what Kim actually represent. And from the galactic point of view, they don't recognize anyone else on the planet. They only recognize the DNA, and because the NI is connected to the rest of the timelines that is in the future, that is in Agatha, that is in wherever timeline they come from the Pleiades, or from whatever timeline they are here. The NI exists also there. It's also here. It's multi, just like you're talking about dimensions. But you must remember, there is no dimensions without the awareness. The awareness creates everything. Then if you try and talk about dimension, you will get lost in trying to explain something that you cannot physically express it here in this agreement where you have the 4 element and the 5th element. You won't be able to understand it. The main thing that people have to understand now is their body and the 12th dimension of the senses and how they operate here. Because that's why they are in the human form. They have to fully declare and fully control their sovereignty with their physical body, and that's everyone's role. For just the same thing, just the same way that in your body, you have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic energy system that we've been talking about. The planet also have that. They have not just the planet here, but also the universe. And so in the universe, they have sympathetic and parasympathetic universe. And the Great White Throne come from the sympathetic universe. And that's the way their life works. And to be able to express that here for the last 26,000 years, now that it has changed, they understand this. That's why the treaty has come to an end. And so the 12 tribes in the Pacific is simply the parasympathetic state of the planet. This is our role to actually realign to teach everyone to be at rest and regenerate state. And this is what New Zealand, the Maori, the Aboriginal people of Australia, the native people of Australia, Papua New Guinea, Tonga, Samoa. I know a few years ago they tried, the Australian government, they tried to develop or try to help out the Aboriginal community to try and build houses and all these good things for them, build roads, and then they just took all the houses and they take out all the floors and they just burn the thing up and make fire inside in the middle of the house, and they want to be connected to the land. And because that's the greatest, the most powerful technology is the fifth element that is connecting that is in everything, that is everyone. And people come in with they think, oh, we have to build houses. You guys, Oi. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so and so
you don't have to build houses. Okay.
Yeah, and so no, like I said, they understand our awareness in the Pacific. If a Fijian comes to New Zealand, they know exactly what because it's part of their tribe, the native people there. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're connected to the planet, and no illusion or what you call third world or fourth or third world future or all this technology. They don't need that. The most powerful technology is the body and is the planet. That's the most advanced technology that people will have to self-realize and then work together with it. And so the 12 tribes in the Pacific, they represent the parasympathetic state of the agreement of what the Mana holding trust means now. Self-regenerate sovereignty.
Let me ask you a question. So let's say I'm a contractor, a builder, a developer of housing projects.
Yes.
And I want to come to Fiji and build housing.
Right.
So is this in alignment for the people there? If I built, 1 million homes?
Okay, I understand what your question is.
Good.
We can actually you can talk about it, like you can speculate on the lessons that can be learned from it, or yes. you can have a choice to just come and implement the building that you want. So the lesson is there's two probability or two you can choose. And so if you wanna, okay, this is a 1 million house. This is how I want it to look like, and you make all the house here. You can choose to make all the house look the same, just like housing, or just like the way it's in in everywhere in the third world countries trying to build houses. You might bring all the way and all the knowledge and all the technologies that you think that benefit the people.
And that styles and the way for people to pick the style that they like, and and so on.
So the question is actually it's open. You have to try. You will have to experience it. You will have to come here and see what people want, and then would they want to be involved in that project? Or what would they learn if you just give it to them, or what will they learn if you let them build it on their own?
Right.
And however you'll decide, whatever. If you want to help them express their own creative energy within them, or if you want to just force in the ideas and say, oh no, this is the better idea, you have to do it this way. So I won't say that this is wrong, this is right. Whatever lesson that is going to be learned from whatever choice or probability you choose to experience, that's the lesson that you will learn from it. And so we can sit down now and then think towards the future and try and arrange it in a way that is actually spiritually beneficial to the experience of the people. Or you can choose to just pretend that you're the savior and try and build everything for them, and maybe ask them for the design, but you pay people. You can. It's not right or it's not wrong. It's just like everyone has the wisdom to sit down and actually be able to choose and to fully understand what they're doing and how it's going to affect the people that they're trying to help, or in any level or whatever level that they will affect their life and the experience that they have agreed to be living on this planet right now.
I like the way Tui said that. Like, it's not right and it's not wrong. It's like, well, it's kind of wrong. it's kind of wrong. It's if you're looking at what's best for people. I mean,
Right.
This
is the purpose of asking the question this way, right? Is to really see that there are many ways and many paths that we can go and do something, but do we want to put what we think is the best modern of everything into a place where it's completely opposite of where the people are in their lives?
Yes, like what DANK is saying is actually right. It's you can actually value it as no. You need to actually try and create an environment where they can express their creativity. This is what will make them sovereign, and because and that's that's the wisdom that everyone has to come up with. That's the way it has to be done now, because the other way was 2017 and beyond, like in the past. That's how it was done in the past. If you were to do that again, we will be learning the same lesson, and sovereignty will always be those people that that are looked at as savior. And that's why we stop the people from intervening from all the different timelines they come from the future or from even from the past, because sovereignty has to return to the individual, to every living thing on the planet, not just the human beings or the people. It has to come to everyone. And so they, with their full of wisdom, they understand what it means, and so that's why they agreed to the peace treaty, that everyone will be doing their part. They will clean up the air, they will do whatever they do to try and correct everything, but they will never intervene onto the human affairs. And that's why a human being was chosen to actually control the trust, so that the humans will be able to give them a chance to reconnect themselves to the planet and reorganize themselves and regenerate and learn to regenerate themselves. And so the answer is that simple. It's not
I've got another learning question.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So let's say I'm Elon Musk, right? And I'm going to make, and which he is, a worldwide Wi-Fi from satellites, where he's going to put 14,000 satellites around the whole world. And everyone will have free internet, including is that then invading the space of Fiji in a way that's not honoring their sovereignty?
Okay, I will answer that, because it's even though you might think it's a technological question, but in its essence, pure essence, if you talk about what the fifth element is, the Wi-Fi and all these frequencies that are running on the planet is actually part of this enslavement system that is part of the agreement, that is enslaving every soul. You must remember there are frequencies of what the planet is that has been used in the past, and that has been which is what the internet really is. The frequencies that has been traveling all over, the microwaves and all this, is part of the spiritual energy of the planet, and they use the ley lines to actually pass it around. And so just by invading that space, by doing that, they are not full, because they're trying to physically force the connection of what we are into the physical part of the planet. They don't know that the fifth element, which is in everything, has their own natural way of connection. and people don't have to like use they don't have to use internet, they don't have to look outside of them to try and learn what the past is. It's all connected. Like every DNA and RNA on the planet has their own information that can be accessed by the human being, but not by a technology outside of it, because it's not working on the fifth element. And so, we can do that outside and try to force and create electricity, and try to force and try to create the new future. But like I was talking about a few days ago, the NI that Kim is using, it's working on the fifth element. That's what it works on. And so if we think that we have advanced technology, that we use the different frequencies of the microwaves or the electromagnetic spectrum that we use to try and force the disconnection uh, to actually I mean, if you look at all the telecom companies that are doing, they will be looking for the ley lines to be able to drive and to use that, to ride on that, to be able to connect everyone to whatever connection they do. But if they can't, if they don't have control to the ley lines, they have to use it physically and lay down cables so that they can run it on that physical level. But the planet has its own natural way of communicating, and so if we use it in that way, and if it teaches people that like I said, it totally depends on you and how it is valued. Will it teach them the sovereignty of themselves, the people, the plants and the animals and the planet, sovereignty of the planet, or will you just you know you just siphon all this energy and try and use it in a way that like it's just basically only on the human level, and it's not because this disconnects yourself from the plants and the animals. I know that's one thing Kevin has come and learned. I told him no Wi-Fi, no TV. If you want to learn this, you have to learn physical. You have to ground yourself on the planet, and then you will be able to make sense. And all those things that you've experienced will just get in line, because you've been searching for this experience all your life so you can heal yourself. And so if you continue on the physical way of trying to get knowledge and understand things, because I mean that's the reason why we normally try and do that, to try and get people connected, or people to try and get them like what we have right now, all the technologies, the internet, the information that they can learn from and can change their life. It might be like you might do mean well to do all that, but there are spiritual agreement that you have to fully understand by making the choice. And like I said, the lesson is there to learn.
Well, we have a couple other people that have joined us. Thank you, Tui, for
Thank you.
and I hope that well, at least there is a good use for the Wi-Fi. We're talking, right?
Yes, like this. Yeah.
I want to ask a question, because there are it's coming from a different place, right? And where these are meeting. So that's why.
Yes. I understand what the intent is. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah. So
I don't think Elon Musk is trying to destroy the planet, right? Or to infringe on people's sovereignty in making a worldwide Wi-Fi. I think he has that this is a good thing.
Yes.
How if he's doing it, you can't really opt out. It's going to cover.
Yes. I understand. We're discussing. I call it. We're discussing illusion. We're discussing perspective. So I understand the progression that has to go through.
Yes.
That will one day in the future will be able to use, but it has to progressively. If that's a way to actually progressively connect people and then make them be able to learn their way to become truly sovereign, then it's always a progression.
So Tui, I'd really like to use my MindFi and connect with you and send you an MMail.
My friend says that.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you got muted. DANK, you're muted.
Sorry. My friend Shilea goes into Spacebook, she says, instead of Facebook. She just goes into the ether and connects with people that way. Doesn't have a cell phone, nothing. Won't even use it.
Yes.
Okay, we'll have her
That's
come on right now.
What's that?
I said we'll have her come on right now.
She's a little shy, ergo the name Shilea. But she doesn't.
yeah.
I mean, she's not actually. But she's kept kind of a low profile. I mean, she's like a.
You I can hear you then. Hello.
That's interesting. Somehow I got muted.
Talking about technology.
I said, what I was saying is sometimes in the past I've really tried to keep a low profile, right? But it doesn't work. Suddenly I'm on a live broadcast, every day.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we can. It's fun to actually sit down and think about it now, and think about how we actually change, how the progression will work, and everyone in whatever area, wherever you are in the world, you know exactly as you're part of this awareness of this agreement, soul agreement. You know exactly how um, to actually, because you are living where you are, and you know exactly how it works, how life is in wherever you are, and how you'll be able to create that awareness, and then get people and provide them with an environment where sovereignty can be fully expressed to the fullest potential, and the progression that has to take. We're all different. The US is different, Fiji is different, wherever you're in the world, and some can do it faster, some will take time, some will value different things, other people will value different things. That's why we are sent here and we are living on those different places where we are, and to be able to connect, I'm thankful for that, and to be able to have people in the live chat, I'm actually thankful for everything. And so, somebody muted Tank.
Yeah, I noticed that it was Tony, but Tony is gone. I do not know why. Yeah, so it's an interesting phenomenon. I never noticed that this had happened. You could mute someone else. I think maybe because they think there's background noise coming from one thing, and then they try to.
Right.
And I think there's some complexity there. Now we have someone else that's create change. Must be from Tank's group that's also on the air. And Tank, are you there?
I'm here. Yep.
Who's creating change?
That's Josh Conway from Create Change, South Carolina. Represent.
What's up, guys? Man,
Hey, man.
I just wanted to drop in. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Uh,
Hi,
cool, man.
Josh.
Hey, Joey. How
It's
are
good
you, bud?
I'm good.
Good.
Thank you. I'm good.
Yes. Dan, how are you, man? Good to
I'm
talk to you. This has been a nice little 20-something days that you guys have been running. So, I just wanted to drop in and give my little support to you guys, hey, and just kind of drop something on you guys and get your opinion. And I thought of it the other day, Dan. I'm a Glenn Beck fan as well. I listen to him a lot, and you were talking about. He talked about this years ago about the system of education that we used to have in here in the States, and they were talking about an 8th grade test uh, when they tested out, and these tests were, our doctorates today would have a hard time passing these tests, and so our future is our children. So the challenge I see is how do we get how do we get back to that level where we're raising children that are actually learning to be smarter than we are, and and get them back to the level where they were in the early 1900s, reading 5-syllable words when they're 4 years old. How do we accomplish that? Because I think that's really how we perpetually keep the world the way we want it, by education and keeping our children smart. So I
Well,
just kind of wanted to get your guys' take on that, and
I,
see where
I
your heads are at.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things that we can do that we're doing wrong now. I really think that you can say, the one parent has to be at home and raise the children. I think it's better that the mother and wife is the one that stays home to take care of the children and helps to train them at home and educate them at home. That the school systems itself are a system of de-education and to just train them to act a role in a job, and that's not really and they don't want people too educated in that way, that allows them to be critical thinkers. So I think that's one of the things that's really upsetting for a lot of people that are in the school systems, to think that they are the problem, right? Because they're doing their best, but they're following rules that have been put in place, and it's always about changing the rules. We can change the rules and make it better, but it always creates more bureaucracy. But on the other side of it, where you want to have a certain amount of education, that because you're homeschooled, then you
Hey, Dan, you're fading out, man.
hello, hello. I'll
Come
try and
back
get
in, yeah.
closer. So if you're fading, if you're going to be at homeschooled, you're going to be in a situation where the one at home teaching is not going to have all the knowledge of the world, except we do have all the great teachers of the world available through technology. And there are systems that have been tested and developed where the best ones at teaching a particular lesson, where it's results driven education, that those lessons can be made available to everyone through the technology that we do have through the internet. And we can create systems that are going to help homeschool, but still offer guidance of the home and what the parents' wishes are for their children to learn and not to learn. So that can be well developed, uh, and again, it's not. I'm not really slighting the people that are in the system, because the system is designed in a certain way that doesn't allow those people to be the best at educating, teaching our children. Even though they have the best intentions. But also, bureaucracies tend to be corrupted, no matter what the intention was. The larger these bureaucracies get, the worse they are corrupt. So we can minimize structure of, say, a Department of Education, so that it's not creating something where it's making a monolith around the world, but we can still have teachers that are very well rewarded based upon how well they're teaching, a results-based benefit. So again, I see this as in alignment with abundance. If I've saw some magnificent mathematic videos where the teacher is teaching mathematics in a way that most children, when they experience it at a very young age, like 5 and 6 and 7, they're able to comprehend these complex mathematical ideas. And if you get it that early, that means that they can have really good building blocks and go really deep into it. But this is not a standard way. It wasn't a standard way of teaching. But the results were is that the videos had millions of views. So wouldn't that be, if you had the results tied into that, also worth paying that teacher more because they came up with that lesson plan? So there's ways to use technology that would benefit us in the ways we want. Or if go ahead.
There is. You're right. There is if and if we rebuild everything, because everything is corrupted, right? So if a teacher's going to get a bonus because they put something out and they get 200,000 views, right? Well, where are they going to get those views? Because we have to decorrupt the system, right? Because we know that YouTube will corrupt it, right? They don't want that method to go out. So that's why it's a complete, absolute change has to take place.
Yes, it's true. We have to build. We have to build the new economy. We have to build it, and we can't look at really waiting for the existing to volunteer its way in or to what we're looking for. Right? We just have to build the new system, and the other system will either adapt or it will disappear.
I do have some ideas, Josh, about education. By the way,
Sure.
To come back to that. Firstly, the educational system is not designed for to develop lifelong learners, right? Now, naturally, the natural human condition, we are all intrinsically motivated to learn, right? We naturally learn. We naturally want to know how things are done. We are naturally curious. We want to. That's why you can have a 5-year-old who will teach you something about how to use your iPad, right? Because they just pick things up that fast, right? So intrinsically, we're motivated that way. So if education was structured differently as far as developmental stages, now what they've done is they try to categorize everything. So one of the ways that they've really broken any kind of uh, excellent and exceptional learning is they made standardized testing, right? So now everyone fills in a blank with a series of the same general questions. And now we are going to judge whether or not you are intelligent or worthy to go to college based on this. Well, and then we all think, well, you need to go to a good college. Now you go to a good college. Why? To get a good job. Why? So you can make enough money to live. Right. So it all comes back to the main standard. It all comes down to money. Right. So everything that child's education since they were in kindergarten was based around how much money will you make for a quote unquote living. Right. So we have to redefine living. Number one. That's the first thing. It cannot be work. Living, it cannot be work unless you love what your work is, and then that's living. So that's the first thing.
That's
So
fair.
the intrinsic values we teach from home are essential, right? So we have to start with the parents. That's where to reform education starts with re-educating parents about innovative ways to work with, see, and connect with their children. I'll tell you, that's all it really takes. It just takes the connection. That time of just being there, being present, listening to your child, hearing what they have to say, just being engaged, that is enough. And this is proven, by the way. This is fact, what I'm saying. This has been proven that kids will perform better in school in every way. But now that's a generic, that's a start, right? Particularly with your kids. I know they're young. Now, but now here's the next thing. In the educational system itself, the way to restructure it is instead of focusing on the basics that we think you need these things, you need to know this first. The reason why we teach you have to know these things first is because that's what the tool is that we're using. But what we should really focus on first is helping a child access what is most natural to them. And what will happen is they will realize how they learn. Now, when you as an individual are conscious of how you learn, right? How you absorb information. When you know that, for example, anybody who hears me talk, I mean, if you listen to certain people, I'm an idiot, right? Um, but and and I can make an argument that, like I don't read. I have my master's degree, and I could tell you I probably have never finished a book. I mean, maybe one or two books in my whole life, and I have my master's degree, right? Now, how is that possible? Well, because I remember everything I hear, right? So I don't take notes either. So I just, but it took me a long time to realize that, because if I just hear it in passing, I won't remember it. But if I'm engaged, I can, generally recite exactly what I hear. So,
You're muted again, Tank. Looks like everybody's muted here. You seeing this, Dan?
Hey Joe. Okay.
There we go. So, so my point, my whole side of it was, I'm like, we're doing what we know how to do. We're gaining their sovereignty. We're building this new brave new world, to kind of quote it. So, but it, you know that freedom is always just a generation from being taken away. So, I think it's super important for us to be able to, one, pass the things we learned about sovereignty and um, how to be good humans and loving humans, to pass that along, but also bring that level of education so we can, take our children from what it is now into what their true potential is. And I believe, like Tank was saying, that we have to we got to find their strengths, and maybe everybody doesn't need to learn how to do, geometry, but maybe you got to focus the children on what's strong for them, and what they can excel at, instead of trying to make everybody the same and good at these core principles by taking them and letting them build on their strength. I'll let you finish up, Tank.
no, man, I was listening to you, and you're right, but part of the way, at different times in our life, we're going to be good at different things too, and one of the things that the whole structure is jacked up in the way they do this, right? You want to take a bunch of little kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, right? And you want to train them to sit in for an 8-hour day. Man, that is ridiculous. You find me a little boy that wants to sit for 8 hours a day, and you're going to keep his attention. You could hardly keep grown person's attention for that kind of
Well,
day.
Tank, you can drug them.
Duly noted, which has been the protocol, right? There's something wrong with your child because they don't want to just sit. Yeah, you know what's wrong with them? They're 6. Like, chill out. You know, um, so the structure is too much, right? And then one teacher cannot adapt to 25 different children's individual learning styles, right? You can't. Now, I actually did my master's in this. There's Howard Gardner has a theory, professor out of Harvard, called multiple intelligences, right? And the whole idea is that different people are going to be drawn to different aspects of intelligence, whether it's mathematical and musical, or verbal, social, visual, artistic, these different aspects of intelligence. Now, in reality, we all possess all of those intelligences. And the more you develop all of them, the more complete the kind of, you imagine like a spider web in your brain, right? And it connects all the different aspects of your brain. And if any one part of the web is weak, you'll be missing certain pieces to kind of create a more holistic, more complete intelligence, right? But so a teacher can't just be like, oh, this teacher uses musical intelligence, because that might not click for everybody, right? So every lesson can't be a song. But in general, there's stages in a kid's life where songs are probably going to work really well, right? And later, they're going to be more visual. But what's always true is they're always going to be active. So it's better to really individualize every single child's education. Now, how do you do that? The only way to do that is to have the parents directly involved. To Dan's point, you know, is I think it's important that we have a structure where the parents can be at home. One of the parents can be at home when the child is grown up, and I think the best option naturally is the mother. Um, to be quite honest, I was going to hedge my bet on that and try to be a little more PC, but if you look at the way the mother's relationship is with the child, it is different than the man's. For example, when the first year, it's actually the first 2 years of a baby's life, right? The first 2 years of a baby's life, a woman's body is so in tune with that baby that every single aspect of that child's development, the woman's body will naturally create a specific formula of nutrients to help that baby develop to its optimal potential. That's how in tune the woman's body is with her child, right? That's why, to be honest, we're more of a matriarchal society, because that job of making sure our children are healthy is the most important job in our whole society. There is nothing more important than the job of a mother. Nothing. I mean, literally, there's nothing.
Except for one thing, the father.
Not so. Not so.
I'm just speaking up for the men here. That, we have something to teach to our children as well, and it is very much as important as what the mother teaches. It's just it's a different side of the coin. We have other things to teach that the mother can't teach, and they are important. Even a father to a daughter.
Okay. The first 2 years of life, when a child has absolutely no ability to take care of themselves, to care for themselves, in this point that I'm making,
I
I'm not
know.
saying the father. Obviously, I'm a father. The father has a valuable role, but there is even with that, still the most important part. And look,
No, I think
a
there's
mother can't be a mother if a father or a man isn't able to be a man, right? If we're not able to provide, if we're not able to do those things, she can't even be that. So it's really a symbiotic relationship, is my point, right? But
I wasn't really disagreeing with you about the importance of that first 2 years and the connection. It is a very unique connection, and the connection to the father is unique as well. But the mother's body is definitely in tune. Well, I can also make the argument that the mother is in tune with the father.
yes, good point. Yes, absolutely.
And there's a resonance between them that is, here's something that one of the things I used to like, cause some disagreement when I had the feminists in the coffee shop that were, I had ongoing, issues with in West LA. That I would say, whenever there's a group of women that get together and all of their periods start to sync up,
Yep.
they'll completely agree with that. But I'll then add to the one male presence that is amongst them. And they totally freak out about that because it will sync off of that one vibration.
Wow,
And I know I saw some evidence to this in some experimentation that was conducted. Of course, this is taboo information, right? To basically say that there is a connection between men and women. That the women have to be on their own and separate. But there is it's part of the overall. Not to say that one is more important or the other. One is higher or lower. It's not about that. It's about that there is a connection that starts with with a man and woman coming together, but but the woman is going to synchronize with the man after he has implanted his genetics into her, especially on that first time. So the woman will always have conflicting programming when she has had multiple partners.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And
That's a great
again,
point.
I'm actually going off of scientific studies. Again,
Wow, that's deep. Yeah, man.
taboo stuff, right? So even to find this information, it goes against. But this is some of the core things that are denied in the world because it doesn't fit the talking points. It doesn't fit the division of men and women, pushing them apart so they can't rely on one another.
Man, that is an incredible point because that even speaks to, because you would think sexual freedom would be like part of being liberated, but in reality, it really it's doing damage to the psyche of the actual independence of what it means to be human. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'd never thought about that.
Now there is obviously the not to say that I in continuing down this line that everybody's body changes over time, right? And even influences of vibrations and programming, actually everything does change out because all of our body cells end up being replaced every 6 years. So I think Thomas Williams said something about that you're still it's like a 2-year cycle for you feeling a relationship, and I don't know where that comes from, that figure. I just thought it was interesting that he was bringing up that there was that a 2-year frequency, I guess, connection between two mates.
Yeah.
So if you've had multiple partners, yeah.
So it takes a long time to disconnect. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I can add though that there is a difference between this, that kind of implied in the beginning of this conversation, between the nature of man and the nature of woman.
Yeah.
And that the way the interaction happens, basically will you might say that since the biology of the man is literally to spread the seed, right? And to go and have multiple partners on a basis, and then, but on the female side, it is to nest. Now these are the biological, natural rhythms, but it doesn't mean that the man can't be monogamous and stay with one, right? It's not that's a relationship that comes into being because there is a benefit of the energies staying together in that way, and that's because of children. So anyway, it's the I know from the from society where they're trying to basically say that women can do as men and have multiple sex partners is breaking down who they are as female.
Right.
It's actually harmful. I don't think I don't think the man will be getting what he's actually looking for if he's having multiple sex partners, right? Because he's taking care of a biological need. But he'll probably be missing out on the relationship.
Sure.
Because I know guys that are like that, that have been, for whatever reason, their mode is to go from woman to woman to woman to woman, right? Or even back and forth. But are they truly happy, individuals, or are they searching for something? I think they're searching, but that's just me. And then a lot of this is, much more of a generalized conversation, right? As the specifics are individuals have their own lessons, as Tui, I'm sure, is ready to jump on and say. But uh, but this, but a lot of the things have been distorted, as what is, the side of what men are supposed to do, what women are supposed to do, how we're supposed to act with one another. It's all, under attack, right?
Yeah.
So, we need a kind of a reset, right? And wipe out the last, 60, 70 years. Go back and look at what was important back then.
It's really amazing. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So I'm sure.
I'm old fashioned. I mean, I do like traditional, traditional relationships. So, but
I got divorced while I was in Los Angeles, right? So I brought up in Santa Monica is where my family was raised. And after going through divorce and everything, I started dating. I was with one woman for 18 years, and then all of a sudden I'm thrown into Los Angeles for the dating world. And it was not good.
no, no, that's a that's a dangerous recipe right there.
Yeah, so that's kind of like why I ended up, I think, in the Philippines, right? Because the sensibilities of women here were more or less what it was 50 years ago in the U.S.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it wasn't that it doesn't exist someplace in America. I'm sure there's pockets, but I wasn't
Right.
finding it in California.
Right. Yeah. No, that's
Well,
too bad.
that's awesome, guys. I appreciate you talking on the subject a little while. I've since having my second child, they're both young, but I've became ultra sensitive to children and this crazy abortion crap they got going on. And they're just thinking that we got to do better than our parents have done for us. And if we don't get anything else done, I think that has to be done. We got to change it for our kids. We are changing it for our kids, for our children. We're building a new world for them, and we need to train or give them the knowledge so they can keep it going when they're in our shoes. So thanks for your input, guys.
Sure.
Yeah, man. What's going on, Josh?
Well, we definitely went on
See you
another
guys.
tangent. That's fine. We get to talk about a bunch of things, and I like the logo there. It was create change with a rhino.
Yeah, Josh is a great example. His whole team down there in South Carolina. I'm always, looking for leaders like Josh. Uh, Josh, he's got his own Create Change South Carolina Facebook, and he's got about 14,000 followers who, watch everything he says. He's got a group that was ready to go down every time we've had a disaster. They were ready to mobilize. They got all types of projects and ideas, and they've been working on things. They already have their structure in place. They got their website up. Because and that's all. Josh just kind of caught it. He's also a vet, and so is his wife. And they just kind of got it right. He just kind of gets it. He realized once he got the core principles, and we brought him on board. I never had to tell him to do anything else. He just went out and started doing it. And that's the way it should be too, because he's made Create Change his, and he's got his own YouTube too. He puts out his own videos. And I love that, man. I love that. Um, I look at him and I'm like, man, if we had 100 people like that around the world, shoot, we could change this everything in no time.
I mean, you don't need to be appointed as a leader.
Right. You just lead. That's it. That's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, you just go out and do it. And obviously you have to do it your own way. Waiting for directions from a central source is the worst possible, setup, right? You can,
Well,
because the micromanagement always fails, and you have
always.
always. I mean, and I've seen many do it over the years, and there's nothing really you can do to other than go out and create a new system that is going to be allowing the creativity of the individual leaders to take root and go and grow.
Yep.
So
Well, and the other thing too is like real leaders aren't intimidated by other leaders, right?
right,
Like Josh being successful it's never occurred to me once to rein him in, not once, because he's one, and also you'll notice too about leaders. Leaders are humble, right? Leaders know, like, hey, I don't know everything. That's what makes great leaders, right? Not
well,
this, like, I have to know all the answers. Like, you don't have to know all the answers.
yeah,
And I watch Josh, and he's a young guy, he's like 35, and like, he'll check in with me, like, hey man, I'm he's already got it done, but he's like, hey, I did this. And he'll just check in and make sure it's cool, and I'm like, hey, yeah man, go for it, that's great. You know what I mean? Like a couple times we've, and he strategizes with me, right? And I mean, he's not somebody that will ever work for me. He'll never work for me. He'll work with me. And to be honest, he'll work for me as much as I'll work for him. I'll put it that way.
right. That is where you're basically coming off as an organic structure that can basically really grow and develop. It's the opposite of the pyramid structure, right? That is set in
Right.
place in stone and always have to go up to the top to get permission and always go to.
Right.
So
You got to go through 50 different channels, a bunch of meetings that don't go anywhere. You got to get a consensus, you know. And what I also love too is his his group is local and they're in tune with the needs of that area, all the time, even down to the family level, right? I mean, the man calls up, he just had a baby recently, and he's thinking about his immediate tribe, like his group, which by the way, that's where everything starts, right?
yeah,
He's like, look, I can't do my job if I don't take care of these people that live in my house. Right?
right.
So I
Well,
love that.
that's also the point. Is like having the people around you that are going to support you. Now, some of them will have their own ideas on what they're going to go do, but others are going to tune in with what you're trying to do and assist you.
That's very true. And you know what, by the way, that happens every day. I have people call me, they're like, look, I don't have a project, I just want to be involved. And I'm like, I got a place for you. I know I do. Right? I'm sure, you know, somewhere in the world there's people that need you, the exact skill set that you have. There's a place for you, right?
Yep.
I love that. I love what we're doing. Period. I'll tell you, this is a dream come true. I know we don't have we're not able to distribute yet, but I'll tell you that is absolute. That is happening. There's no question, and that is right here. We're right on the doorstep of that. And man, I can't wait to be able to move with a little bit more force. But in the meantime, I still love the opportunity to be able to get everybody united around a common cause that we can all agree on. We can all agree on the core values of humanity, right? The core needs, at least. At least we can agree on that, right?
Well, it's we're doing this, and it is out of love that we're trying to bring this all together so that we can move forward together. And we need the leaders to step up and to join and do whatever they can at that moment. Not everyone can do stop everything and do 30-day broadcasts. I don't know where we're at. We're over 30 days at this point, and uh, but it's okay that if you can do one broadcast. If you need help learning how to do it, it's also very simple. Get on a video call like this. And hey, look on your phone. See right here. Click that button. You're already broadcasting. It's so simple, and you can just start talking with people. And that's all we're really doing right here is we're talking with one another. Now I'm playing devil's advocate, sort of, so to speak, on the asking these questions of TUI, right? Because I want to draw out for people to hear what the difference is, between the old and the new way of looking at things. right? And so, you know, on one level, too, he never answers my question, right? But actually, he's answering it in the way that I'm hoping he's answering that. And so he's always answering what I'm hoping to get from him is from you know, the fifth element, right? I didn't know how to even label it before, right? But I mean, from the fifth element point of view, which is also unique for everyone. But I think the more that we get to experience that and be open to what those possibilities are, you know, having the conversation in the way I'm hoping is adding to people's understanding of it.
Absolutely. And I do appreciate that, by the way. I do appreciate that.
Well, I also don't like to be the advocate for the devil, but it's
Right.
the best term.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a point to it to get a positive wave going.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
well, we're in almost into our 3 hour mark. So we've had some interesting conversation. I think, you know, these are going to have to be broken down into smaller segments. I mean the previous shows that we've done, because we've covered so much, and it'll be good to, you know, get this into some small bite-sized chunks. I might spend some time doing that, but I want to finish working on content on the where we go one we go all.love site, wwg1wwa.love. So I hope by this weekend it's up and running, and then we can start you know, having some discussions about these different, you know, avenues in which QAnon and the things happening against. And the goal there is to break down the financial system, the restructuring of the Fed, the restructuring to break up the Saudi Arabia, Rothschilds, and Soros triangle of the financial system. That's the stated uh, position of QAnon, is that's what's being gone after. This is the enemy, and so that's something that we need to follow and participate in where we can. This you know, these broadcasts are participating in what replaces that. You know, what is the new system? What does it look like? What is it restructured into? And that's what we're doing here. Anyway, I appreciate everyone that's joined in. I think it's a good place to end. Unless we have any final notes for today, Tank.
No, go fight, win. Thank you, everybody, for paying attention. Dan, appreciate all you do. Tui, Josh, peace out, Cub Scouts. Have a great night.
All right, bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.